Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Ganana Antva Ganapadigam Vamahe Kavim Kavinam Upavashravastramam Jeshtarajam Brahmanan Brahmanaspada Arashvandhoti Visida Sadhanam. Om Mahaganadipataye Namaha. Om Keshwaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, Om Madhvaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Vishnuve Namaha, Matsudraya Namaha, Trivikramaయ Namaha, Vamanaయ Namaha, Sridharaya Namaha, Hrishikeshaya Namaha, Padmanabhaya Namaha, Damodaraya Namaha, Sankarshnaya Namaha, Vasudevaya Namaha, Pradyumnaya Namaha, Niruddhaya Namaha, Purushottamaya Namaha, Dokshaya Namaha, Narasimhaya Namaha, Achyutaya Namaha, Janadaraya Namaha, Upendraya Namaha, Hare Namaha, Sri Krishnaya Namaha, Sri Krishnaya Namaha. शंभवे नमः विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यंबकाय त्रिपुरांतकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकंठाय मृत्युंजयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विच्चे. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विच्चे. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विच्चे. हरि ओम. Dear friends, we were discussing about Indradi Deva Stuti, Narayana Stuti. We did that after the killing of Mahishasura Vadha. All the devatas became very happy and they were pleasing and they submitted their prayers to Bhagavati. And Bhagavati, after hearing their blessed them, all the devas, and disappeared. And after that, he was Janamejaya, the king of Hastinapura. He was asking the Vyasa Maharishi, asking where the Bhagavati disappeared from this place. Where is she gone? And Vyasa Maharishi said, the Bhagavati has got her own abode and she has gone to her own abode. Manidvepa. It is called, her abode is called Manidvepa. And Manidvepa is a very, very special place and only people who are permitted to go only can go. And Bhagavati's permission is needed for the people to go to Manidvepa. Now, after the Nindradi Narayana Stuti finished, and then what actually happened from Patala Loka, Shumba and Nishumba came and started giving trouble to Indra and all the devatas. So, in those days, Nishumba and Shumba, they were brothers, strong heroes, very, very, very strong persons. Those two wicked asuras were surrounded with innumerable Dhanavas. They tormented always devatas. Then the goddess Ambika, for the good of devas, killed Shumba and Nishumba with all their attendants in a very dreadful battle. In the battlefield, Devi killed their main assistants Chandamunda and the exceedingly terrible Raktabija and Dhumralochana. When the Devi Bhagavati destroyed those Dhanavas, the Devas became fearless, and Devas then went to the beautiful Sumeru mountain and praised Bhagavati Devi, her chanted hymns to her. Hearing about the names of Shumba and Nishumba, Janamejaya asked questions to Veda Vyasa Maharishi. O best of Munis, who are those two asuras? How come they became so powerful? Who put them here? Who were they vulnerable to women only? Why were they vulnerable to women only? Under whose tapasya and under whose boon did they become so strong? And why did that great Devi kill them? Describe all this to me in detail. So Janamejaya, the king of Hastinapura, asking Vedavyasa Maharishi to give explanation for everything. Vedavyasa Maharishi said, O King Janamejaya, I am describing to you that beautiful anecdote where the Devi Bhagavati's holy deeds are involved here. This incident, full of all that is good, destroys the hearer's all sins and grants them all their desired ends. In those days, Shumba and Nishumba, the two fair and good-looking brothers, came out of Patala to this earth. These two asuras, when they grew to their manhood, performed severe asceticism, tapasya, in Pushkara, the holy place of pilgrimage. Pushkara is a holy place of pilgrimage, um, and there is a Brahma temple there and Saraswati temple there, and Pushkara is the place where Saraswati Mata came and established a center of education there. And Pushkara is a holy place of pilgrimage, the most purifying place in this world, and they refused to eat rice and water when doing tapasya. They became so very skilled in their yoga practices that they passed away in their own posture and seat on Ajuta. Seat one Ajuta, that is 10,000 years is one Ajuta. Thus they performed very difficult tapasya. Then the god Brahma, the grandchild of all, became pleased with their asceticism and appeared before them, riding on his vehicle the swan. The Creator, seeing them thus deeply immersed in meditation, asked them to get up from that state and told them, "Thus I have become pleased with our tapasya. I fulfill the desires of all the lokas. I have now come to you, pleased to see you so very strong in your ascetic practices. Better ask your desired boons from me." So Brahma says, "I will grant the boon to you." Vyasa Maharishi said, "O king, hearing thus the grandchild's words of Brahma, Shumba and Nishumba got up from their meditation, concentrating their attention towards him, circumambulated him, and bowed down to him with their hearts full of reverence. The two asuras were very weak, lean, and thin by their hard tapasya, and they looked very humble. They fell down before Brahmaji like a piece of wood and began to speak in a sweet voice, choked by intense feelings. O Brahman, O Deva of the Devas, O devotion of mercy, O destroyer of fear of the devotees, O Lord, if you are pleased with us, please grant us immortality. There is nothing in this world more fearful than death. We too have taken refuge unto you, being afraid of this death. O Brahman, ocean of mercy, creator of the world, O Lord of the Devas, O universal soul, protect us from this fear of death due to the terrible death. Brahma said, "Is this the boon that you ask? This is in every way against the law of nature. For no one in these three lokas can grant this boon to anybody. When one becomes born, one must die, and when one dies, one must be born again. This law of the nature, originated by this world, by the supreme creator of this universe, from time immemorial. Therefore, all the beings must die one day or the other. There is no doubt in this. Better ask any other boon that you desire. I will grant that to you." Vyasa Maharishi said to the king Janamejaya, hearing thus the words of Brahma, the two Dhanavas pondered over the matter and bowed down to the Prajapati Brahmaji, the lord of the creation, and said, "O merciful one, grant us then so that we shall be invulnerable to any of the male of the immortal devas, down to human beings and birds and deer. This is the boon that we ask. Where exists the woman so powerful as to kill us? Where exists the woman so powerful as to kill us? We never fear any woman in all the three lokas. O lotus born, we the two brothers want not to be killed by any male. The females are naturally weak, therefore we need not fear of them." Vyasa Maharishi said, "O King Janamejaya, hearing these words of the Shumba and Nishumba, the Brahma gladly granted them their desired boon and returned to his own abode. On Brahma going away, the two brothers, Dhanavas, to return to their own places. They then appointed the Muni Bhrigu as their priest and began to worship him. Bhrigu, the best of the Munis, then on an auspicious day, and when the star was benign, got a beautiful golden throne built and gave it to the king. Shumba, being the eldest, was then installed on the auspicious throne as the king. The other brave and excellent demons began to assemble there quickly for serving him. The two great warriors, Chanda Munda, proud on account of their great strength, came there with their large armies, chariot, horses, and elephants. Similarly, the valiant warriors Dhumralochana, hearing the Shumba and had become their king, came there with his army. There came up also at the same time the great warrior Raktabija, more powerful on account of his getting a boon attended by his army, two Akshoini Sainya, two Akshoini soldiers. O king, hear why this Raktabija became so very unconquerable. Whenever this Ashura was wounded by any weapon, if one drop of blood fell on the ground, at once would be created so many innumerable Asuras, resembling his wicked nature, and with similar weapons in their hands. The Asuras born of this blood would have similar appearances and would be similar in strength and ready to fight at once when they were born. That great warrior, the great Devan Raktabija, was unconquerable in the battle for this very reason, and no being could now kill him. The other asuras, when they heard that Shumba had become their king, came up there with their armies, consisting of 4 divisions of elephants, chariots, cavalry, and infantry, and began to serve the king Shumba, and got possession of all the kingdoms that existed then on the surface of the earth. Then Nishumba, the destroyer of enemies, collected his army and marched up to the heavens without any delay to conquer Indra in the Devaloka, the lord of Sachi. He fought very hard with all the Lokapalakas on all sides. When Indra struck him on his breast with his thunderbolt, Vajrayuda, Nishumba fell unconscious on the ground with that blow. When his soldiers, defeated in the battle, fled away on all sides, Shumba, the destroyer of the enemy's forces, hearing the unconscious state of his younger brother, came up at once on the field and shot at the Devas with multitudes of arrows. The untiring Shumba fought so violently that Indra and the other Devatas and Lokapalas were defeated. Shumba then took away per force the position of Indra and occupied the celestial tree and heavenly milking cow Kamadhenu that yielded all desires and other excellent things over which Indra used to reign. In fact, that high-souled Asura got that dominion of the 3 lokas and took away all those that were offered at the sacrifices. He became highly glad on getting the Nandana gardens of the heaven and was extremely delighted when he drank the celestial nectar Amrita. He then defeated in the battle Kubera, the god of wealth, and occupied his kingdom. He defeated the Chandraloka, Suryaloka, and Yamaloka, and the god of death, and occupied their position. Surrounded by his army, Nishumba dispossessed Varuna, Agni, and Vayu of their kingdoms and began to reign their stead. Thus, deprived of their kingdoms, prosperity, and wealth, the Devatas left the Nandana garden and fled out of terror to the caves of hills and mountains. Thus, deprived of all their rights, the Devatas, without any weapons, without any lustre, without any home, and without anywhere to go, began to wander in lonely forest. O king, all the immortals began to knock about in a lonely gardens, mountain caves, and rivers, and nowhere they found happiness. For happiness depends entirely unto the hands of the fate. O Lord of men, even those fortunate souls who are powerful and wealthy and wise meet at times with distress and poverty. O King, how marvelous are the ways and manners of time! It makes kings and donors beggars. It renders the powerful weak, illiterates, and it makes great warriors into terrible cowards. O King, Vasava performed 100 horse sacrifices and got the excellent Indra position. But again he fell into the extreme difficulties. Thus runs the wheel of time. It is time that bestows the gem knowledge to a person, and it is time again and that deprives that very same man of his wisdom and makes him a great sinner. The Bhagavan Vishnu takes incarnation under the control of the Kala in several lower wombs as boar, etc., and Mahadeva carries on his body the human skulls that are not even fit to be touched. When Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha, and others suffer such painful things, then one need to not wonder at the workings of the great inscrutable time. Here ends the 21st chapter of the 5th book on the conquest of the heavens by Shumba and Nishumba. Sri Mad Devi Bhagavatham, the Mahapuranam of 18,000 shlokas by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Now we came to chapter 22 on the eulogizing the Devi by the Devas. Vyasa Maharishi said, O King Janamejaya, when the Devas were all defeated, Shumba began to govern all their kingdoms. Thus 1,000 years passed away. The Devatas, on the other hand, deprived of their kingdom, were all drowned in an ocean of cares, chaos, and anxieties. At last, they began to feel very much and were greatly afflicted. They asked with reverence their own Guru Bruhaspathi, O Guru, what are we to do now? O all-knowing, you are the great Muni. Kindly advise us if there be any means by which we can get rid of this our present crisis. There are thousands of Vedic mantras which yield the desired results if they are worshipped with the due rites and ceremonies, and if all the rules be observed thereof. O best of Munis, many yajnas are mentioned in the Vedas that yield all the desired results. You know them all, so kindly perform those yajnas, do all those ceremonies duly that are ordained in the Vedas for the killing of the enemies. O descendant of Angirasa, you ought to perform as early as possible those sacrifices for magical purposes to destroy the Dhanavas so that all our miseries come to an end. Bruhaspathi, the Devaguru, said to Devatas, O Lord of the Devatas, all that mantras mentioned in the Vedas yield the desired results, but subservient to the great destiny only. They do not give results of themselves, but do so in obedience to the laws ordained by nature. You all are the presiding deities of the Vedic mantras, but now, by the strange irony of time, you are put to difficulties and troubles. What can I do now in this case? See, Indra, Agni, Varuna, and other devatas are invoked in sacrifices. How then can sacrificial ceremonies do good when you are put to so great difficulty yourself? Therefore, there is no remedy to those which will take place unavoidably. But those who are wise declare that in such cases means are to be adopted. Some sages say that the fate is strong, but those who advocate the cause of taking remedial means say that the fate is powerless. Remedies are mainly exertions lead to all success. But O King of the Devas, Indra, the embodied souls ought to resort to both fate and remedies. It is never advisable to depend solely on fate. Therefore, it is advisable to think out again and again, as far as one's intellect goes, the best remedies. O Devas, I have thought over again and again in this subject and say to you my opinion. Here in days of those days, the Bhagavati Maya, the Bhagavati Devi Bhagavati, Ambika Devi, being appeased, killed Mahishasura, and when you all praised and chanted hymns to her, she gave you this boon that she will remove all your sorrows and troubles no sooner you remember her. And she told all of you, must remember her whenever any difficulty would arise to you out of this great destiny, she would then free you all of your ocean of great difficulties. Therefore, you do all now go to the highly sacred and exquisitely beautiful Himalayan mountains and worship Devi Bhagavati, the most worshipable Chandika Devi, with your love and devotion. Know all the rules of the said mantras of Maya and be engaged in taking her name accompanied with burnt offerings. I have come to know by yogic power that she will be pleased with you. I see that today your difficulties will come to an end. There is not the least doubt in this. I have heard that the Devi Bhagavati resides always in Himachala. If you worship and praise and chant hymns to her, she will certainly grant you your desired boons. Therefore, fully decide on this thing and go to the Himalayas. O Devas, she will fulfill all your desires and carry out all your intentions. Vyasa Maharishi said to the king Janamejaya, hearing thus his words, the Devatas departed to the Himalayas and they became all merged in the devotional worship of Bhagavati, Supreme Goddess, and began to meditate constantly in their hearts the seed mantra, Maya, Hreem. They bowed down to the goddess Mahamaya, the discarder of all the fears of her bhaktas, and began to chant hymns to her with a perfect devotion. This devotion is very important to satisfy any deity, any devas. O goddess, salutation to you. Thou the Lord of universe, the Lord of our hearts, thou art the everlasting bliss and the giver of bliss to devas. Salutation to thee. Thou art destroyer of the devas, and thou art the giver of all desires of human beings. Thou cannot be approached with a devotion. Salutation to you, the incarnate of all devatas. Thy names are endless, thy forms are endless. None can count them. Thou residest always as the force incarnate in all the actions, in the creation, preservation, and dissolution of beings. O Goddess Bhagavati, thou art the memory, constancy, intelligence, old age, thou art the nourishment, contentment, thou upholdest all, thou art the beauty, peace, good knowledge, prosperity, and happiness. Thou art the goal, fame, and intellect, and thou art the eternal seed unmanifested. We now bow down to these forms of thine through which thou dost serve the purpose of devatas in this world as we are now in need of peace. Thou art forgiveness, the art of forgiveness and mercy, the art of yoga nidra, a state between the sleep and wakefulness, thou art of the kindness, and thou residest in all the beings in so many forms, great and grand, and so very celebrated. O Goddess, you already served the cause of the gods by killing our great enemy Mahishasura in the past, puffed up with vanity. Therefore, your mercy is well known amongst the gods. What more? Your mercy is known since very ancient times and is narrated in the Vedas. What wonder is there that a mother nourishes gladly her own sons and preserves them carefully? For thou art the mother of the Devas, thou art the great source of help to them. Therefore, you fulfill all Devata's desires with the whole heart. O Devi, we do not know the limit of tiny qualities. We do not know the limit of thy qualities, nor of thy forms. O Goddess, thou art worshipped by the whole universe. Thou art fully competent to save all from the dangers. We are objects of tiny pity, dust. Thou save us from our present troubles. Thou art capable to kill enemies without shooting any arrows, without striking any bows, without hurling any trident, axes, shaktis, clubs, or any other weapons. Merely by the mere will thou canst kill, still for sports and for the good of all beings. Thou incarnatest and fightest for the sake of Leela. The ignorant persons know such things as birth, death, etc. That this world is not eternal, that no actions can be without any cause. We therefore ascertain by reasoning and interference that Your art, the supreme cause of this whole universe. Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Mahesha is the destroyer. So it is related in the Puranas. Though again, you have given birth to these three gods in the respective cycles. Therefore, thou art the mother of all. There is no doubt in this. O Devi, in those days, these three devas worshipped thee, worshipped you. Thou pleased and gavest them all the best powers. Being thus endowed with your powers, they have been able to create, preserve, and destroy this universe beautifully, one after the other. Art, they are not foolish. They may be yatis, persons of self-controlled nature, who do not worship the universal mother, the consciousness incarnate, the giver of liberation, on whose feet are worshipped by the devas, and worshipping whom one gets the fruits of all one desires. Certainly, those Vaishnavas, Sauras, worshippers of the sun, and Pashupatas, worshippers of Shiva, are foolish braggarts who do not meditate. They, as the embodiment of Kamala, prosperity, modesty, beauty, continuancy, fame, nourishment. O Mother, the Asuras, Harihara, and other great devas worship you in this world. Therefore, those mortals are certainly deceived by their Creator that do not worship. O Devi, Hari himself serves the lotus feet of Lakshmi by coloring them toes and other fingers of the feet red with lap juice. Hara is very anxious to serve the lotus feet and take the dust thereof of Parvati. Lakshmi and Parvati are but the due part manifestation. Therefore, serve them is, in other words, to serve you. What to speak of other persons, even those who can discriminate between real and unreal, and those who have left their worldly homes and have become dispassionate towards worldly objects. Even those munis worship forgiveness and mercy. That therefore, who is there in this world that does not serve your lotus feet? O Devi, those human beings plunge into the dreadful wells of this samsara, the round of birth and death, the round of birth and death, and are deprived of all pleasures, who do not serve your lotus feet. What more can be said than the fact that those fallen beings suffer terribly from poverty, humility, leprosy, headache, and the chronic enlargement of the spleen? O Mother, those persons are void of any wealth and wife. They are the carriers of loads of wood and collect grass and leaves and show their skill in each such act. They are of little understanding and never they served in their previous births. Your lotus feet. This we have come to know very well within our heart of the hearts. Vyasa Maharshi said to the king Janamejaya, when all the devatas thus engulfed Urajis, instantly Devi Ambika, full of youth and beauty, appeared there out of mercy. That extraordinary beautiful Bhagavati, endowed with all auspicious signs and adorned with divine clothings, ornaments, and garlands, and sandal paste, etc., appeared before the devatas, before whom even the world enchanter Cupid bows down with such beautiful divine appearance. The Devi emerged from the mountain cave in order to take her ablutions in the Ganges. The Devi, sweet voiced like a cuckoo, gladly smiling, began to say to the Devas, singing hymns to her in a voice of deep like that of a rumbling cloud. The Devi said, O best of Suras, O best of Devatas, whom are you prizing constantly in this place? What do you want? What are you so anxious? Why are you so anxious and seem to be so much careworn? Do please tell all this to me in detail. Veda Vyasa Maharishi said to the king Janamejaya, O king, Devatas were first enchanted by her beauty and softness. Then, being encouraged by her sweet words, began to speak with great joy. O Devi, we pray to you. O Lord of this universe, we bow down to you. O Lady, O Bhagavati, the ocean of mercy, protect us from all the troubles. We are much care overrun and tormented by the Daityas. O great goddess, in ancient times, thou dost kill Mahishasura, the source of troubles to all, and then told us to remember you whenever any difficulty would arise. Then you would undoubtedly remove all the troubles arising from the Daityas. No sooner we remember you. O Devi, we have now remembered you for the very reason. At present, the two dreadful asuras, Shumba and Nishumba, have sprang up and are creating great disturbances, and they cannot be killed by any male beings. The powerful Raktabija and Chandamunda and other asuras, untitled, have dispossessed the Devas of their heavens. You alone art our goal and refuge. Without you, there is none other to save us. Therefore, O beautiful one, thou dost do this work for the Devas who are extremely troubled and distressed. O powerful Devi Bhagavati, the Devatas are always at the services of your lotus feet. Still, the very powerful Dhanavas are throwing them into dangers. O Mother, thou art the preserver of the distressed. Therefore, preserve the Devatas devoted to you. O Mother, the Dhanavas being very much emboldened, very much aggressed by their powers, are creating more havoc on the surface of the earth. Now remembering that in the beginning of the Yugas, you did create all this universe, thou dost now ought to protect all this universe. Here ends the 22nd chapter of the 5th book on the eulogizing of the Devi by the Devatas in Sri Mad Devi Bhagavatham of 18,000 shlokas by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Thus ends the 22nd chapter of Nishumba and Shumba and Nishumba, the Daityas, were killed by Devi Bhagavati. Om Namostu Anand. Om Shambhave Namaha Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikagnikalaya Kalagni Rudraya Neelakantaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Sriman Mahadevaya Namaha. Om Om Haim Rim Klim Chamundaya Viche. Om Haim Rim Klim Chamundaya Viche. Om Haim Rim Klim Chamundaya Viche. Hari Om. नमोस्तु अनंताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादाक्षे शिरोरबाहुवे सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषाश्रये सहस्रकोटि युगधारिणे नमः सहस्रकोटि युगधारिणे नमः आकाशात् पतितं यथागतसागरं सर्वदेव नमस्कारः श्रीकेशं परिणत्यो नमः सर्ववेदेशत्पुण्यं सर्वतीर्थेषु यत्फलं तत्फलं पुण्यमाप्त्यवासनात् वासुदेवस्य वासन्ते जगत्रयं सर्वभूतनिवासोऽस्ति वास्तुमृते कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि नारायणायेति समर्पयामि हरि ओम। ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विद्महे। ओम ऐं ह्रीं